For 3 decades, Johnny Carson ruled late-night television as the beloved host of The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. Known for his wit, charm, and ability to put almost any guest at ease, Carson interviewed countless celebrities, politicians, and cultural icons. Most adored the opportunity to sit across from him. It was a career milestone, but there was one guest Johnny Carson openly despised. A guest who made him so uncomfortable and irritated that their interactions have gone down in late-night history as some of the most awkward ever seen. That guest was none other than Joan Rivers, the spark of a legendary rivalry in the beginning. Joan Rivers and Johnny Carson shared a close professional relationship. When Rivers first appeared on The Tonight Show in 1965, Carson was impressed by her sharp, fearless comedy style. He even famously told her on air, "You're going to be a star." That kind of endorsement from Carson was priceless, and it launched Rivers into the national spotlight. Over the years, Rivers became a frequent guest and even served as Carson's substitute host, filling in when he was away. Their chemistry was undeniable, and Carson trusted her to keep the show running smoothly. Fans loved her appearances, and it seemed like she was one of Carson's favorite guests. But behind the scenes, cracks were beginning to form. The betrayal that ended it. Elaine, 1986. Rivers was offered her own late-night talk show on the brand-new Fox network. It was called The Late Show starring Joan Rivers, and it was set to air directly against Carson's Tonight Show. For Carson, this wasn't just competition, it felt like betrayal. Why? Because Rivers never personally told Carson about the deal. He found out the same way the rest of the world did, through the press. To him, it wasn't just a professional slight, it was a personal wound. He had given Rivers her big break, and in his eyes she had turned her back on him. From that moment on, Johnny Carson never spoke to Joan Rivers again. He banned her from The Tonight Show, a ban that lasted for nearly 30 years. It was one of the coldest and most enduring grudges in television history. The fallout for Joan Rivers. Carson's anger came at a heavy price for Rivers. The Late Show struggled to find its footing and was eventually canceled after just 1 year. Behind the scenes, Rivers faced even more heartbreak. Her husband and the show's producer, Edgar Rosenberg, tragically took his own life after the cancellation. Professionally, she was blacklisted from Carson's world. Even when Jay Leno took over The Tonight Show, Rivers remained persona non grata, unable to appear on the show that had once made her a household name. It wasn't until 2014, when Jimmy Fallon took over as host, that Rivers finally returned to The Tonight Show. Sadly, Johnny Carson had passed away nearly a decade earlier, and the two never reconciled. Why Carson hated her the most? Carson was known to be protective of his territory. He had little patience for those he saw as disloyal. But what made his hatred of Joan Rivers so striking was how personal it was. He had once called her a friend, a protege, and someone he believed in. Her decision to compete against him without telling him first felt like the ultimate betrayal. To Carson, it wasn't just about ratings, it was about trust. That broken trust hardened into resentment, and it lasted the rest of his life, a complicated legacy today. The feud between Johnny Carson and Joan Rivers is remembered as one of late-night television's darkest chapters. Carson's anger showed a side of him that audiences rarely saw, one that was unforgiving and deeply hurt. Rivers, meanwhile, carried the weight of the feud for decades, even though she continued to reinvent herself in comedy, fashion, and television. Ironically, both Carson and Rivers remain icons of late-night history, remembered for their talent, sharp wit, and groundbreaking contributions. Yet, the story of their fallout lingers as a reminder that, even in the glamorous world of television, personal grudges can leave scars that never heal.